Hey guys, welcome to a special edition of Expat Soup. Today we're here with our One Light and Lee.
Hi.
And today we thought we would just come and talk to you guys a little bit about things that are happening around the world due to the COVID-19 situation. This is hopefully our last depressing COVID video, but you got to stay on top of the news, and it's everywhere right now. So, what do you think, Lee, about these protests that are happening around the world?
Well, I mean, because as most of the world, we're very focused on American news, I feel that I didn't even realize there were protests in other countries until I didn't
even realize there was other countries.
So, like, when we were talking about doing this topic, I was thinking, so let's do a comparison to other countries that aren't doing protests, but apparently other countries are also doing protests.
Yeah, and the protests are extremely varied in what they're actually protesting for.
Yeah.
And there was protests in many countries that were happening before COVID, and then
this kind of just got muddled into together.
So they were protesting the government or police brutality, what have you, and then COVID happened, and then you have a lot of these authoritarian, not all third world countries, but some
developing nations
that have all of these problems that are inherent to their respective country and places, and then COVID comes along and they have there's this tug of war between their respective government, where they're thinking, this is a chance for us to squelch these protests.
Yeah, you can see this very clearly in somewhere like Brazil, where Brazil, the government has lots of issues recently, and then this lockdown quarantine happens, and the citizens, rightfully so, think it's an overreach for a lot of the time, because it is a way of suppression as well.
And a lot of the places are used to being suppressed or oppressed in every other way, and now this is just another kind of wave of these authoritarian governments that are like, okay, we get an excuse to tighten our control even more now.
Yeah, I mean, and then it's had the opposite effect in some places. You look at Hong Kong. So previously to COVID-19 being an issue, there were Hong Kong protests, but now zero Hong Kong protests because they've been locked inside. All the protests have gone online and things like that, where it's much easier to control and ignore, and it doesn't get mainstream media approach from that issue.
Yeah, every kind of newsworthy thing involving people protesting has been kind of pushed under the rug for now.
Yeah,
which is pretty reasonable, I guess. It's kind of sad that these people fighting for their rights are now kind of just pushed aside for this global pandemic, but it's just natural.
I think it also depends on the context of them protesting, why they're protesting.
Mm-hmm. Well, Hong Kong, they have I'd say a pretty valid reason.
Yeah.
In Kenya, there was protests protesting like government stuff and food shortage, and then just recently the amount of deaths from the police cracking down on those protests is the same to the amount of deaths from COVID there.
In Kenya.
I'm not sure what city. I just saw the news as the country as a whole, but so that's one of the more developing countries they're just getting hit from both sides.
Yeah.
So, and you can understand why the police want them to stay inside, but you can also understand it from the normal everyday Joe's working point of view that, I still want to fight for my rights.
Yeah, I mean, in India, that when they were having a lot of the protests, they were chanting, feed us or send us home, because a lot of them just don't have money for food or food in general. Mm-hmm. So this whole lockdown has really affected those people that need to work day to day to survive.
Mm-hmm. And the professor of economics at Lisbon's Nova University said that 2 billion people depend on day-to-day work to survive.
Yeah.
So you got to feel for all of those people out there that just literally have nothing after a few weeks without work.
And that's just developing. If you look at America. Just this past week, like more than 4 million people have filed for unemployment, which takes the total to like 26 million.
Yeah, millions already before that.
That's like 20% of the working age who are unemployed in America.
In America, albeit it was slow and maybe not as much as people wanted as far as monetary kind of reimbursement, if you will, at least they've given something. Whereas
the stimulus package, you mean, like giving out.
Yeah. Maybe it's not perfect, and it took a while, but it happened.
Yeah. A lot of the states are running out of money and they've requested for more, but at least there's something there, right? There's some accountability.
And I'm guessing, I think Canada was in the same boat. Their program was a little more easier to do online, and it was maybe a little just flowed a little bit better. And but they also have less people and a smaller country. Blah blah blah. America's a different animal because states have their own autonomy.
Yeah. And some states are much more populous than others. California versus Ohio, for example.
And have different needs.
Yeah.
So the people protesting for food or help from the government is obviously pretty valid and understandable. But then you have the people in the States, or there's small fringe groups in Canada as well that are protesting the lockdown, mostly fairly privileged people compared to, somebody in Mumbai with water bottles for shoes.
Wanting a haircut and wanting food are not like equal problems at all.
Right. When your problem is that you want a haircut, so you would risk your life and others to protest is...
wanting to go play golf isn't the same as complaining that a ruler in your country is becoming a dictator and using a lockdown to keep control.
Right.
It's not the same.
And there are, even if you want a haircut and you're going to protest for it, I mean, you're obviously free to do that in the States, but there's smarter ways to do it. I saw in Tel Aviv they were protesting a government leader. And it's a really beautiful picture. If you just Google protest Tel Aviv social distancing, I'm sure you'll find it. It was a giant protest where everybody was kind of 6 feet apart in every direction in this grid along the Capitol or some.
I mean, you see, like in the States, there are some doctors and nurses who are trying to stop the protests. I think they're like standing in front of the cars and things like that.
That thing blew up the nurse in front of the truck.
One person, just in front, right? I mean, and they're social distancing as well. I think the main issue I have with the protests in America is how aggressive it feels, because in other places, you got the cops killing protesters and maybe they're like riot police, riot shields. Not all, many of the American protesters are turning up with open carry guns, and
they're kind of sending these mixed messages.
It's pushing a little too much for my liking as a British person. But I mean,
if you're gonna
it's within their
protest, fine. Do you have to take your gun with you? I mean, you can, but what are you trying to prove?
Yeah, what's the next step?
Nobody's going to the protest to shoot at you.
Yeah.
I mean, exercise your right, fine, but you might look a little silly, like you're playing dress up or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
and there a lot of them wearing those kind of ski balaclava masks where like you can only see their eyes, and I don't know if that's because they're covering their mouth for mask's sake, or they're trying to stay.
A lot of those people are quote unquote preppers, where they
like bunkers and
not so much bunkers, but just like
dry food.
They're just ready for some sort of end
storing
of the
their
world
ammunition and
thing to happen. Yeah. They have like not a bunker, but like a big chest full of kind of MREs or like food
Space
that won't
food.
go bad.
Yeah.
And these are the first people to
complain
be like, I don't want to stay inside.
There was a picture I saw with people complaining about Kaepernick when he was taking a knee and how unpatriotic it was, and then like someone now who's like screaming at a nurse who's also exercising his right to protest in front of protesters,
right?
And just like comparing how kind of hypocritical it is about some things obey the law, salute the flag, but don't salute the flag when it's against what we want.
The government has no right to tell me what to do with my body unless I'm protesting an abortion clinic.
Yeah.
But yeah, fuck their bodies.
I
my
mean,
body's the only one that counts.
What would you suggest to someone at home who's having a terrible time with lockdown? Maybe they've lost their job. Maybe they haven't lost their job, but financially they're not so stable. What would you suggest? Do you have anything that you would throw out there for them?
Like if you're in financial ruin and you don't have a paycheck coming in, I would say hold on to that stimulus money.
For sure.
Make that stretch as far as it can go. I don't know what's the cheapest food in the States right now, but get a lot of that.
Chinese food.
Don't go to McDonald's and like blow it all on dollar McChickens or something.
Get food that's gonna last and that you can maybe make in a bigger batch. Cook some food at home instead of buying takeout.
But for those people, the stimulus package had to have helped because it was for a certain tax bracket.
Yeah.
So super rich didn't get it, but
so like 1,200 or something like that.
I think it was 1,200. Yeah, and I'm guessing there will be another installment. I don't know,
depending how long it lasts. Yeah, I mean, it is a serious situation. Like the deaths in the USA double that of Italy, which is in the second place. Mm-hmm. Italy has 24,000, whereas America is 42,000.
Yeah, in Italy, in the south, there was recently a lifting of restrictions on going out, and right when they lifted restrictions, there was a crime wave of robberies and just kind of petty theft type stuff.
Yeah, because people are desperate at that point, right?
It's the impoverished areas that you're gonna see the ugliest stuff happening.
People only steal when they need something, and it's serious and it's terrible,
and it's hard to kind of bash the people who just really want to get back to work, and because you also their situation, but it's also like if you don't stay inside for a month or two, it's just going to go on longer. Like it's just that give and take of how far do you want it to go?
Yeah, exactly.
And how long can you be in misery and pain, or have more people die around you, or potentially yourself?
And it's hit the economy, and it's going to be years for this recovery.
Yeah, it's
the unemployment rate has never been this high.
It's incredibly scary.
Like the Great Depression. Yeah, it's a long process. Even if things opened up tomorrow and the virus was gone, the economy is going to be shit for a long time.
Mm-hmm. And especially for all these bigger countries who depend on each other for economic
and states within themselves as well. Like you got the farming states that have been hit really hard. No one's buying meat. Fresh meat, restaurants are closed. Processed meat, but
tons of food is going bad.
Yeah, and they're just going to have to close these places. And then when things open up, there's not going to be enough food for everyone because they don't have those places.
Like in Lebanon, there was economic crisis far before COVID started, and there was protest there regarding the economy. And now their economy is going to get hit even harder. And the protests are just going to either grow or there's going to be a crackdown. It's just a big mess, really.
Oil, like we didn't even touch on oil. The oil industry is fucked. Oil and gas in America is, like, at the moment, I think it was basically cheap enough that they have to pay you to take it. Like, it's ridiculous how like, bad everything has gotten very quickly. And how worse it can be if people don't take it more seriously.
It's scary that the chain reaction that could come out of it's like the butterfly effect to a T. However it started, and here we are.
I think it should be called the bat effect now, not the
exactly. They have wings too. But yeah, basically
everyone needs to learn Mandarin because that's where the future's going to be.
Yeah. Well, hopefully, if there's not a second wave here, they've closed the borders for the most part.
Yeah, you can't get into China unless you're a citizen of China at the moment. No, and maybe a foreign diplomat can get in, but otherwise, then they don't allow people, regardless of visa or not, to come into China.
And
So
who knows how long that's gonna last?
Well, the last time was like 40 years in between,
yeah,
until the 70s. So yeah, it was. Yeah.
Oh boy.
We're fine though. We're fine. For those watching, Spencer's mum, we're fine.
Yeah.
We're okay to stay here. If we leave, we can't come back. That's the only issue.
Yeah. So, no vacations anytime soon, I guess.
Yeah, and we may not be allowed to leave the province as well. I think they might have locked provinces. That might be a new thing. Yeah.
Not so much protests here as you could imagine.
True. It is very true. And we said this on a previous episode, but like the type of government that is in place here really does work well when you have a pandemic and no one can argue with the government.
Yeah, one of the
there were no protests here. Like people were annoyed.
Yeah. There was a few protests when Wuhan got opened.
Yes.
They were protests neighboring cities and provinces were protesting.
They didn't want Wuhan open.
Right.
they were scared of Wuhan.
Just wrap it up in duct tape and forget about it.
Check back in 5 years how everything is.
But basically, I think it depends on what you're protesting for and how you're protesting. But there's a lot of mixed. Somebody's protesting for a haircut and somebody's protesting to go back to work, and they're in the same protest and they're not practicing social distancing, and it's just a mess. There's not a whole lot of cohesion.
What I would suggest is save it, write it all down. Everything you want to express in your protest, write it down, and be political about it once the pandemic is over. Mm-hmm. Like, go and vote. Write to your mayor or the governor of whatever area. Yeah,
you can call
them, because protesting is good and the numbers are going to be looked at, but unless you're talking directly to people that are going to make changes in the future, protesting now won't change anything now.
And it's dangerous.
And it could,
it can prolong the issue.
I saw a guy, photos of a guy in Florida. He's going around all the beaches that have opened up, dressed as the Grim Reaper, just sitting on the lifeguard things as the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, there's a lot of good kind of like the nurse guy and but basically we just wanted to kind of give our take on the hot take or not. It's just a take, nothing too serious or rigid, but we just wanted to kind of touch on the issue because it's becoming so ubiquitous on the news and internet. It's everywhere. It's
and
gross.
We were trying to really make this a romantic setting as well.
Yeah. We got our shadows here. This is
the next episode is just going to be one candle, and we're going to be huddled over it.
Yeah.
We're getting better, guys.
Yeah. We're it's the down part of the roller coaster right now, the scary time. But next time, we'll get another light, and you guys didn't watch this far anyway, so we're gonna cut this out. But anything else on the?
No, I'm good.
Good. All right. Take it easy, guys. Let us know if you got any tips and tricks in those comments.
If you want to donate light bulbs, that's good too.
For sure. 40 watts. Bye.
Bye.